delighted to welcome the next speakers, Mr. Smith Patel, a seasoned visionary and director of Green Lab Diamonds, and Mr. Ayush Bansali, director of Prism Jewelry. And the moderator for this session is Nirupa Bhatt, who's a coach and a consultant in the industry with over 40 years of experience. Let us extend a warm welcome to the next speakers.
So good afternoon, everyone. Hi, good to see you all. I was hoping lab grown is a very exciting space. Doesn't feel like here with less, but anyway, I think Prasad would know he has been trying to do this for a very long time, and it takes time. I think people are really wanting to do it, but still kind of do not want to be seen. Many of them. So anyway, we'll figure out what to do. Sorry. All those things have changed. We would like to hear that as well from you. So thank you, GJEPC, Vikrant, and the team for organizing this discussion. And the lab grown, I think, as Prasad just mentioned as well, has changed the way people look at it. And as many of you know, they were grown, since 1954, mainly used for industrial purposes. And because of the scientific and technological advances in the last couple of years, decades, now we have gem quality diamonds. And as most of you are familiar, there are two main processes, CVD and the HPHT. CVD India has become the largest producer of lab grown with using the CVD process, whereas China remains a very dominant player using the HPHT process. We have seen significant increase in the production of these diamonds and also use in the consumer markets, especially the US led the this demand curve, and it seems that the others are following. Interestingly, India is the main or very significant producer of the CVD diamonds. India is, as we all know, is the largest cutting center. So we are, I think, India as a country is reasonably well placed. I think reasonably is an understatement. Is really well placed. आप सब महारथी वहां क्यों बैठे? आपके लिए तो सोफा रखा है, हेमंत. सुबह आइए, प्रसाद. ऐसे दूर दूर मत बैठिए. Okay. Yes, exactly. So there was, and I think as we have seen that we have evolved with passage of time as to how we accept. And we have here two young entrepreneurs to really help us understand why are they here. They both come from diamond families. They both were doing something different. They were probably not interested in that the natural diamond business, so to say, not for any other reason, but they wanted to do something different and market conditions, etc. But I think something happened, and we will hear from them what really got them to this industry. And I would think, I've known Smith for a few years now, visited his facility in Surat. And I think the passion with which they talk about the technology is different. So I would not really think that both of them are entering this business as a branch of their own business. I think it is more both of them as entrepreneurs. They have nothing to do with their original natural diamond business. For that matter, even Ayush, the his family business known in the industry for generations, Bansali Diamonds, and then Prism Jewelry. I think he's starting something very different, unique, and new. So we will hear from both of them because they will be marketing. They are marketing. One is already doing, other is on his way to entering this wonderful world of gemstones, if I may say. Diamonds, welcome. And we need young blood. We need people who think differently. And we would like to hear from them what is it that they see, the product, the how technology has helped. Because I would think it is the technology which has really pushed them or encouraged them or influenced them to really come in this field. So we will hear from them. So, as I mentioned, Smith is from Green Lab, and I would like him to say a few words, a little more about him. I am not doing justice to his introduction. I've seen his diamonds and his the kind of work that they have done in terms of the energy conservation, etc. And for Ayush, also young man, very impressed. I've spoken to him few times, and so when I was talking to his father, he said, "Mujhe kuch mat pucho, sab Ayush ko pucho." And that's the great thing that these kids, sorry, have been given a free hand by the businesses to say that yes, you believe in something, please go ahead and do it. And I think that's what we need, and that's this diversification. And I think that's where these two young men, two young entrepreneurs, will really help us to understand more about why they are here and what do they think of this. So something, Smith, if I may start with you, we believe that, or what we have been hearing about is the energy that is consumed for growing the diamonds. And sometimes there are concerns, and I know, being focused also on the use of optimum utilization of the technology, how do you really manage? Is it really issue? How have you really gone through this process of managing the energy conservation?
Firstly, I would like to thank you for the warm introduction. Uh, for those who don't know Nirupa
Oh,
where have you been in this industry? Basically, her experience, you can just hear her talk for hours and you'll learn. So thank you so much, ma'am, for the kind introductions for both of us. Uh, speaking about the technology and the energy part, of course, when when we started this industry, we called it Green Lab Diamonds. Like at least our company, we called it Green Lab Diamonds. There was a reason behind it. There was a vision behind it. We knew that the energy that is consumed is very heavy. But we had a plan from the start to make sure that all our energy that is consumed is using solar and wind power. So we have around 35 megawatts of solar and wind powering a factory which you uh, kind to visit, that actually generated more energy last year than we consumed. So and all these things, so what I'm coming to is transparency is key. So uh, just because it's lab grown, calling it green also doesn't make sense. I think you understand why, because the energy part, that's the question she's asking. But making sure that your source, the people, holding them accountable of what kind of energy are you using, and then marketing in that process, I think that's the next step. And a lot of people are actually doing that. So there are many agencies like Diatrace, there are, and many more in the industry that actually audit, report, show your complete energy generation consumption month on month as transparently as possible. And people like us or some growers have enrolled to those programs just so that there is transparency going forward.
so we do here, and I think it's interesting you mentioned this about the generating your own power
Yeah.
that you utilize, and there is excess power, which
Yes.
I'm sure you give it to the grid and
Yeah.
then whatever. So I think one of the important thing is the claims and counterclaims which are made by various industries is the energy conservation. You call green lab and then green environment friendly, etc. So thank you for sharing that. today the consumers is more aware, and I think even when it is any products are marketed, sustainability in various form has come to a fore, and the companies are using to promote and place their products using one of these platforms. So Ayush and his brother Adit, who is also here with us, who has just returned from the US, gave up the great lucrative job that he had. Ayush pulled him, I guess, for the dream that they have about reaching out to the consumers here. So the Indian consumers are very value conscious. You both plan to launch a chain of retail stores. You can tell us a little more about what that is, and I want to understand why did you think of it? And the Indian consumers are very value conscious. What is your proposition? What is your positioning of this, the kind of products that you will be offering them?
Thank you again for the warm introduction. I've met Smith Bhai a couple of times. It's been really amazing. I've met you yesterday and I've already learned way too much. So it's great. Yeah, as you rightly said, so I came back from the US and I joined my parent company, which is Prism Jewelry. And that's a natural diamond B2B manufacturer for the last 20, 25, 30 years. And then we were, thinking about what can we do? What else can we do? My brother's coming back. I'm here. There's two more hands on deck. What do we do? And then we identified this niche. And to take it back one step, when we look at India as a whole, there's a lot of people in India that still cannot afford diamonds, the natural diamonds, the mine diamonds, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of people that cannot access that, and this niche, this gap, which is still very, very wide and massive, we think lab grown diamonds fill that gap. You know, a lot of people in not only in tier one cities, but tier two, tier three cities, they have social media, they have Instagram, they see, reels and TikToks and stuff like that. And they want to aspire to reach that diamond. They want to move from the silver and the gold and the platinum to reach the diamond, but they can't do that yet. And I think what Smithby has done with Green Lab, what we're trying to do with, and the brand is called Firefly Diamonds, is reach that consumer market. Our biggest value proposition, we think, is democratizing diamonds, making them accessible to all. Um, One of our key taglines that we keep harping about a lot, my brother and I, when we think about, what products to keep, how do we market this to people, is you want to turn those aspirations, those dreams into a reality. And we think that by coming in with Firefly Diamonds, we can help a lot of Indians, celebrate their special moments in a way they never thought they could do before. So that's something that we're doing a lot. And for the value proposition, there's another thing that we're looking a lot is we believe that with new social media coming in, the first users are always the younger generation, which is our target market too. And the key to making a sale or converting them, not only educating them, is having multiple touch points. You don't only reach them one time in the store. You reach them online. You reach them on Instagram with each swipe. You reach them through different forms of social media, through word of mouth. And what we want to focus on is having multiple touch points with each of our consumers, not only pre-purchase but post-purchase too, to make sure that that special moment we cater to that and we're always there for them through Firefly Diamonds.
So it's interesting you use the word democratization of diamonds. I'm actually going back almost 25, 30 years. When I joined Argyle Diamonds, and Prasad is already smiling, he probably remembers what I am talking about or what I'm going to say. Is that when Argyle Diamonds came onto production in the 80s, majority of their production was low end and small diamonds. And when we started marketing those 25% of the production because of the antitrust, we couldn't sell everything to De Beers in those days. I worked with Argyle, so I keep saying we because I have learned a lot from them. I'm grateful to that organization for, giving me an entry in this beautiful industry. And I remember going to many offices in Prasad and Panchratna in those days and says, Nirupa, you are crazy. You must tell these guys to throw all their diamonds, dump them in the sea. they are actually spoiling and lowering the value of the gem quality diamonds. In those days, there I'm giving this example to kind of see how the markets, how the consumers behave. Will that happen here? I have no idea. I am not a great, I haven't really studied the LGD market so much to be able to really make any comments, but I'm just sharing this experience. And we said no. Uh, we will continue to market, and we formed Indo-Argyle Diamond Council. We worked with the diamond cutters to improve their productivity, and did many other took those initiatives. And that is where the jewelry came into the stores of the Walmarts, JC Penney's of the world, and many others. And the idea that time when we used this word, democratization of diamonds, that when they, it is the aspirational value, that if when they someone buys, a kid buys, or a young person who has just got a job buys a diamond jewelry of 99 or $149, for example, in the US, he or she would be aspiring to buy something which is $299. Is that something which can happen here? I do not know. Once we finish, I would also like to hear from Subbu and Prasad about their experiences of this industry. But I think that can happen. The question is, how do you really present this? And I think we took a lot of efforts in those days to presented to the retailers. It was mainly B2B. So the question that I have for both of you is that how do you really, as a category, as a industry, lab grown industry, how do you really present this to the market? What is the value proposition? How do you really, instead of just an alternative? Any thoughts on those? Tough questions, sorry.
It's very tough, and I actually was just going to begin by saying there is honestly there is no secret formula as such, right? And I wanted to be that. There are going to be different approaches taken by so many different people I meet every day, and I genuinely, when I speak to them, and if they're doing it passionately, for me, I believe that yes, they're going to succeed in their own way. It might be not the traditional way of thinking for the new gen. It might be not it might be a traditional way of thinking. It might be a new way of thinking, but it's all different, and that's exciting. I've called this product an enabler once when I was sitting with you, and I believe that this product enables you to go and do a lot more, open up your minds and create something which you had never thought you have done before, whether it is in terms of design, whether it is in terms of value chain. Like I said, no secret formula. I hope people come speak to me, speak to us, speak here, open up about what they feel can, how this industry can move forward, right? Design is just one element of it, ma'am. People's way of thinking is another. In America in 2020, there were 30% retailers who kept lab grown diamonds. In 2023, the number was 80%. So that kind of a jump that's happened, we see a similar kind of trend happening in India as well. However, late, we always did expect it to start later in India, but we do see some exciting creations and exciting approaches people taking across the board in India, so north, south, east, west.
So, two questions for you, Ayush. One is US consumer different than Indian consumer? You have lived there, you have studied there, so you have some idea of what that is. You lived there for how many years?
For
4 years. Okay, not a long enough time, but still, I'm sure you have reasonably good understanding of what that market is. So how do you see, are these two consumers different? Do they really easily, do you expect the Indian consumers to adopt to this new product? And one other very important thing that Smith mentioned is about the design, and that you can experiment. There is so many things in the, when we talk about the opportunities that you can do. Any thoughts on that?
So to tackle the first question, whether the US market is different than the Indian market, 100%, I think it still is. Currently, what we see in the US, as Smith mentioned, was that India usually follows the US trends a few years later in whatever industry you're looking at. We see that sort of entering in lab grown right now because in the US it's picked up. But something that I've seen personally in the US is that, firstly, the West itself claims to be more green conscious, eco friendly conscious. So they're very proud to say that they're buying a lab grown diamond because it's more environmentally friendly. it's cheaper for them, and they can, buy something bigger or better or unique. And we can get to the design part of the product next. In the Indian market, what we still see, as you rightly mentioned, is we're very value conscious. So if, say, someone's buying capacity currently is they can buy a 1 carat, but if they can buy something bigger than that, people immediately know that they bought a lab grown, and people are still a little scared about that, whether they can buy something bigger, and people will automatically, pin that on that being a lab grown diamond. But I think that there's a point not so far in the future. Obviously, we're still figuring it out ourselves. I think we'll fail a few times on the way to figuring out when this is. But there will be a time when people will be happy and, be open about wearing a lab grown diamond. So say Smith Bhai and I, because we are in this, we don't mind saying that we're wearing lab grown diamonds, but there's a lot of people here, this floor down, Nesco everywhere, that still, despite being in this industry, are still a little hesitant about this aspect, be it the price or something like that. But I think there's a point not so far away when India will shift towards that, be happy to take the lab grown diamonds, be happy to, spend the 2 months salary on an engagement ring. They can now spend 1 week salary and get the same product, something like that. Um, and to tackle your second question, sorry, please go. For the design aspect, I've only been here for 2 years. A lot of you have been here for very, very long. Y'all have seen really cool products, especially this floor has some amazing pieces I've not seen before. But being in the lab grown trade, looking at products for the last year or so, even in the last month, the new products that we're seeing evolving day and day, and not only in your everyday jewelry, in the accessories too, but you can do like fancy shapes. You can do fancy colored diamonds. You can do polki. You can do, Mina work. You can do anything without being affected. Like I saw a tennis bracelet currently where the diamonds themselves are drilled through to make the gold weight lower because people don't want that gold weight to be very high. But nobody's going to experiment that in a natural diamond currently. You can experiment more. You can find unique products, designs, um, in lab grown currently, I think. So Smith Bhai just showed me a picture 10 minutes ago. And I'll show you guys our brand logo later. It's called Firefly Diamonds. It's basically a butterfly, the diamond on top and the fire below. Like I think like 2, 3 days ago, he told his team in Surat, can you make a diamond like this? He got a picture already with the logo, my butterfly logo, cut out in the shape in a single solitaire diamond. Now that's something that you would not see in natural diamonds. So I think it's really really exciting, the future that India has and the future that lab grown diamonds has.
So what Ayush just mentioned is a lot more about the technology. We have lab grown because of technology, and what the example just he gave is also about the use of technology. And Smith, you and your organization has been doing it very, very well. You are also in B2B, so you do make jewelry, not just produce grow diamonds. Can you share some your experience about how you use technology to add value to the production? Because at the end of the day, diamonds is a one of the constituent of the jewelry that you can use whichever way you want. So can you help us understand that?
Definitely, ma'am. So when we speak about technology, let me get the most obvious one out of the way first. The first diamond was grown in 1952 by General Electronics, right? That technology itself has evolved, making better, beautiful diamonds now. Like you mentioned, gem quality diamonds, and even the colors have been improving, the sizes, the purity. It's a beautiful spectrum, that technology aspect. But when I'm talking about technology, I'm also talking about the technology that's used in all verticals. The amount of creativity that has been enabled because of this diamond, people have not even begun to explore what they can do. For example, we recently for a customer of us, we studied chopsticks with diamonds, and we sent them to the sushi club in France, and where a few of the big celebrities were actually eating using those diamond studded chopsticks. Very niche example, very small one, but that is something that can be done now, in terms of creativity and design, the types of diamonds that so we have developed a technology in which we can put your logo which you shared with me, and we can see how the diamond would come out. We can cut accordingly, and we can have that beautiful diamond studded into jewelry and present it as your unique piece. So that's what I wanted to show you, and that's why I showed you the diamond right before this seminar. And what I'm trying to say here is, ma'am, that technology has been improving not only in the growing and cutting, polishing, in the jewelry design segment, even the D2C online platforms, the way they are evolving in rendering unique designs and creativity on the fly. People have not even explored that. It's just begun. So that's why it's more exciting. Because even though it's 4 years, it seems like a long time in my head, at least, that we are talking about lab grown since so long. But uh, honestly, I truly believe that this industry has just begun. And there's a lot more to go and a lot more to do. And people haven't started exploring. If my small team can do so much, just imagine everyone sitting here. They are much smarter than me. Where can they take this industry?
So it is very interesting you mention about the use of technological. Now, jewelry is an emotional purchase. I don't buy jewelry because there is technology involved in it. So, as a consumer, please help me understand. How am I going to really balance? What are you going to present to me,
The-
emotion or technology?
So,
How are you going to do that?
so, ma'am,
Ayush, I also would like your response. Please go
sure,
on,
sure.
Smith.
Okay. What I mean by technology, I'm saying technology backed X, technology backed Y. I'm saying that me making a beautiful design for you because I like you will be backed, will be backed by the technology, but will still have a creative element to it. My exploration chart will go wider because of the products I have now, and that's the only thing that is helping because of this
That's
technology.
very interesting. So, I think that is what will help the consumers to have a range of products, merchandise, which is different, which probably was not
Yeah.
feasible
Yeah.
because of the nature of the material that was used. Do you want to add something to
Yeah,
this?
sure. We're still figuring out the retail space, but at the end of the day, the diamond is the same optically, physically, chemically, whatever way you want to look at it. Something that we're thinking about doing in our store is that, you mentioned that it's an emotional purchase, it's about love. The fact that you're doing lab grown diamonds can allow you to customize it more specific to you and for your love. So we're doing like a customize your own ring or customize your own pendant, get a shape that means something more to you than someone else. Get the diamond in the letter of your loved one or something like that. So there is still that love an emotional aspect to the purchase. When I show it to XYZ consumer, yes, I will explain that it's a lab grown diamond, but I will not harp on about the technology. I will talk about the product being the same and, in fact, maybe superior in certain ways, and how I can, show that to you and celebrate that moment of yours in such a way.
Great. I do have some questions, but before, because we have another about 10 or 15 minutes left. So I wanted to know if there are any questions from the audience. So while you all think of the questions, Prasad, do you want to add something? Because you've worked in this space for a very long time. Is there anything you would like to add?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity because I was pretty eager to put in certain points. First of all, what you mentioned about taking diamonds to everyone, and the data has very clearly shown that at least as far as the domestic marketing is concerned, there are about 30 million women who have the potential. And when we talk about 1.4 billion, it's actually right now it's only 30 million women across the country who have the potential of buying diamonds. But as she rightly said, that currently the acquisition rate is only 4%, right? That means year on year, only 4% of that 30 million end up buying a diamond. That means 96% are not buying, and lab grown diamond actually fits in very well there. And it's not, and when you do a further research to understand why they are not buying, obviously on one hand you say there is a potential, but on the other hand you say that they're not buying. It's also because of the fact that the sweet spot for the Indians right now is about $400, which is about 30,000 rupees, 35,000 rupees. And in that, what they end up buying is maybe gold and CZ. Now, with lab grown coming in, that is changing dramatically. And that's why the first statement that I made that a lot of things are changing over the last 2 years. In fact, the fact that even the number of booths which are there on the ground floor right now, I think it has tripled compared to 2 years back, number of lab grown players. So things are changing. The retailers are pretty open to it. And more than retailers, I think it's the consumers which are completely opening up to the segment, because as far as they know that it's chemically, physically, optically, thermally, in all respects, if it's identical, why am I paying more? I mean, that's definitely. So that's where the marketing comes in, very, very critical. And I think the way during, when we were building the category for naturals and we introduced Nakshatra, this industry needs Nakshatra Part 2, and maybe because there is no De Beers in this industry, maybe 5 of the top players have to come together and form a Nakshatra 2, like we did for different consumer segmentation. We had Nakshatra, Asmi, Arisia, Sangini, I mean, there were different brands that we created. Similarly, here also for different consumer segments, you have to build. So, I mean, whether you have a blue label or a black label or a red label, ultimately it's all under Johnny Walker. So that's exactly what this industry needs to do. So you have to create that, because ultimately it is the brand aspiration, because otherwise what's going to happen is the first movers advantage, which people are enjoying today, they're going to lose that very soon. I mean, remember what happened to Nokia. They were the first ones and they're nowhere in the picture now. And why did that happen? Because they never built a brand affinity. Once you build a brand, just because you're the first one, obviously people are going to come to you because there's nobody else in the market. But later on, it's Apple and Samsung. I mean, the way they are there today, people are willing to actually, pay 1.5 lakhs, especially when all the features are the same. In most of the phones, 95% of the features are more or less the same, and that you get it in 15,000 phone also. But yet you are willing to pay 1.5 lakhs. Is the same story which is going to happen here. So two things which are very important is build the concepts and not just a single brand. So brand, like even Champagne Diamonds, when you mentioned that. Now that was a beautiful example. Nakshatra has been another great example for the domestic market. You have Encordia, you have Three Stone Rings. So these are concepts, which is what is the dream selling, which again you mentioned about. So you have to sell a dream. So lab growns have to be sold as a dream, for which you have to build various different concepts. And those concepts, then you need to build your own brand. Thank you.
Thanks, Prasad. Thanks for sharing your views. Any questions from the audience? Yes, please. We have Ria at the end.
Namaskar, ma'am. Namaskar, Smith sir and Ayush bhai. Well, first of all, a heads up before asking the question. I'm a 21-year-old guy who just graduated and joined a very traditional tier 3 family business of jewelry. Well, when I hear from the entrepreneurs who are working in tier 1 plus market like you, the international markets, and the tier 1 city and the targeting the dream crowd. Well, one day when I was discussing with my father, and there was one of my cousins, there's a situation and I would want your reaction towards it. So the situation was, I was talking to my father who's been in the business for 25 years. There was a cousin who was sitting over there who had no knowledge about jewelry, the wastage, the purity, and anything. There I strike a question that lab grown diamonds were discussed in the budget this time. So we should focus on producing lab grown diamonds, selling it the lab grown diamonds. But over there, the cousin over there standing questioned me. Yeah, Mohawk, I am Mohawk. Why would you wear a lab grown diamond? You can afford to spend 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs on a ring. I was like, but yeah, there's a market, there's a niche market where people want to wear diamonds, but they're not able to afford it.
So, what is your question?
My question is that there I became answerless because he said that it is exactly like you want the shoes quality of Adidas, but the branding will be Abibas. So you're trying to sell a product which is equivalent in the quality, but at the same time you're devaluing the preciousness of the diamonds for which people wear it for. That is the style statement that I hold Apple phone because that is a statement of my status, right? But at the same time, if I get a first copy, won't that disrupt the status of the original Apple, or should I say the original diamond? Because in the tier 3 cities where people are already yet to adapt the diamonds, yet to adapt the power spending capacity of the buying the original diamonds, then how can we convince them that lab grown diamond is the need of the hour? Am I clear with the question or
Yes, yes.
So, can I One second. So, thank you for asking that question. But let me tell you that every natural product has, all, most of them have alternatives. Take example of stones like granite. So granite has an alternative which is made in a controlled condition in factories. They are harder than granite. And in many those who have redone their houses in recent past would know that you can use them and they look nice. You get in different more colors than you can get natural. There are individuals who will go for natural. Then they will say, "नहीं मुझे granite ही चाहिए." And there are others who will say, I like this option, I like this alternative, and I'm really going to go for that. Take example of silk saris. There is option and alternative to silk saris. I have silk saris as well. I have the alternatives as well. I have used for both. I use silk when I go for a wedding, when I go to a mandir, wear that, or I go to for some other occasions. There are some fun occasions that I go to. I would wear the other one and go. So I think, and that's what we are talking about, building the category. How, and the questions that I have been asking about, how will you position yourself? Smith, do you want to add something to
No,
that?
there was a question about how would you know, like, will it work or no? I think the answer to that, firstly, is try, do something about it, and then see if does it work or no. You're making a judgment about working, not working, what will people think, and you haven't even tried it yet. So my answer to that is, look, I've had a lot of people since 4 years who've come to me, and they begin small, and some of them have actually grown into a good, like a jewelry. They have 2 stores now. They have 3 stores now. They have grown, and not only in tier one cities. I'm talking about tier two and tier three cities as well. But of course, we had that. We did support them in some way or the other because we believed in what they were doing, but they had to take a little bit of that risk as well. But because they tried, I've not seen someone who's tried and completely shut off and gone. I've hardly had any examples of those who have actually come back to me. So yes, there is a first movers advantage to that also. I'm not saying that everyone will just be able to succeed because jaldi kar liya to theek hai aap ho. There has to be some kind of creativity, and that's where technology also comes into play. And that's when I say that there is no secret formula yet, but I know for a fact that will never succeed if you don't try.
If I can add also to this, and again, I don't think that one has to do both, or as a consumer, I will wear both. I may just stick to my original. And I don't want to go to try something else. And in the consumer markets and the consumers are very, very tricky to understand. This industry survives because of women. How many of us can claim we understand women? Please raise your hand. Oh my God. So please give us something, alternatives, give us styles. And that does not mean we will shift. Again, going to Smith's, the try, it may work, it may not work. It is not for everyone. So, yes, Ayush.
So just one more thing to add to that. You mentioned in your story, that you might not be the ideal consumer for that product, but there's no such product I think that exists in the world that is for everyone. Like, okay, like any, say, take automobiles for example, a Honda might be for say 80% of the mass market, but it's not always used by the HNI. A BMW is used by the top 20%, but not by the 80%. There's a lot of different categories that come in. In fact, lab grown diamonds is one of the few niches that we found where it can be used by everyone. A lot of people who didn't, we spoke about democratizing diamonds, they can now afford diamonds, but a lot of people, say my mother, for example, who can afford to buy a natural diamond, she wants a different shape, she wants a different size, she wants to take something for travel, she wants destination wedding pieces, she wants to experiment with a different style. That still is a consumer market that you can tackle with different products. And another thing that I think, sorry, I don't remember your name, Prasad Bhai said really well. Dr. Prasad said really well, is it's about creating a brand. You spoke about Adidas and you spoke about Abibas, you spoke about iPhone and you spoke about like say another phone company in jewelry. That brand is not always written unless you flaunt it. Unless there's the jewelry box, you don't really know which product or where that's come from. In every other product that you spoke about right now, for example, there is a logo and that allows you to wear it with, like, this is a statement piece. You hold a Starbucks cup because it's a sign of your status. But in jewelry, it's not always like that. You can experiment yourself and wear a different diamond one day, wear a different diamond the other day, but that brand and building a brand is what comes into play here.
And honestly speaking, just adding to that, some of the top brands are also coming up with different designs with lab grown diamonds. Like Prada has recently done a special cut and done, yes, and LV did the logo. So there is no LV and Belvi. There is just LV and they're doing lab grown, they're doing diamonds, they're doing other things, they're doing everything they want to because they can. So I think that's a mentality you need to have, not demeaning it in your head before even you try it or before even you market it. The biggest marketeers of this product are the jewelers themselves. Just need to be transparent and what you do, how you want to show it, and that's it. You'll see what the results are. You'll start at some point. You'll be guided somewhere else, and you'll end up somewhere else. But at least you'll have tried.
So we have with us Mr. Subbu as well. He is the publisher of two magazines, the New Jeweler. Can we have, yeah, New Jeweler and also Diamond Mirror,
Thank
which
you,
is
ma'am.
focusing on lab grown. So
Thank
yes,
you, ma'am.
please.
Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, Smith Bhai and Ayush Bhai, it's very, very important to have these kind of forums and conclaves, everywhere across the country. And it is the right time that, the lab-grown industry is coming out and openly talking to people. But then I would like to understand one most important thing now that we are getting into retail. We were growers earlier and then the supply chain happened. Of course, it's not yet structured. There has to be a structure that has to come in. The DNA has to be really specific. Now we are getting into retail. We are talking to the consumers. How important is education in all this? Like we are talking about a person coming into an outlet, getting an alternative. He used to buy natural diamonds. Now he's buying lab grown diamonds. But why should he buy lab grown diamonds? There is a generic promotion that is definitely required. Like today, even a Rakhi has got a lab grown diamond, or a bridal jewelry has got a lab grown diamond. So where is the structure? The structure is very, very important if you have to get through the supply chain and to the consumers. So if both the grower, a leader in LGD growing as well as a retail, if you guys can tell us that how important is education to drive consumers into the outlet and ask for a lab grown diamond not just as an alternative. Thank you.
I think that's one of the recent statements I just made. Like, marketing. I don't mean marketing in terms of only branding. I also mean education. People who are meeting the customers, being transparent about what is what, being very open. I think that will build more trust and more value. Of course, like I said, the different strategies people will use, but I think that is one of the most important. Like when you build trust, when you're transparent, when you're showing what you have, I think that conversion becomes easier, and that only happens through education and educations at various stages. Of course, talking about not only YouTube and social media education, even front to front, when you're discussing with someone. I've seen the line of question change from 4 years. Right, I used to come here 4 years ago, and today the questions have changed because I believe people have been more educated. So we do need to keep educating so that even next year when we come back, ma'am, we'll have some other questions as well.
You also, okay.
Hi, hi, my name is Deepak. I just wanted to give an example. Smith Bhai said you need to try it to know it. So I'm sharing my example as a customer. Back in 2020, when I was consulting a lab-grown manufacturer, so I personally bought a earring for my wife, whom I usually gift a natural diamond. I must say that the smile on her face was the same as natural as the earlier one.
Very good. Thank you. One question and then we come to you, Hemant. Yes. Thank you.
I just wanted to add something what he was asking.
We can't hear you.
मुझे कुछ ऐड करना था जो वो पूछ रहे थे about Adidas and Abibas and what he said कि
Can you keep this closer to you?
okay,
Yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
now it's good.
So जैसे कि उन्होंने बताया कि try नहीं करेंगे तो पता कैसे चलेगा. So I just wanted to bring an analogy of a car industry. There has been cars of gas, I mean petrol and diesel from such a long time, and a lot of companies tried hybrid cars. And after that, a new player came in the market, which is Tesla. Everyone knows about that, and they just disrupted it. I personally won't ever buy that. मैं कभी नहीं खरीदूंगा वो गाड़ी क्योंकि उसके अंदर कोई switch नहीं है, उसमें feel नहीं है. but there is a market for that. Log resistance, बहुत resistance था initially, but people are adapting to the change. It's a revolutionary product. The software is amazing. Driving experience is amazing. So similarly, a market will be created. Natural भी हमेशा रहेगा, lab grown भी रहेगा, and I think हर product, हर type की quality का market है world में. Competitors आते रहते हैं, players बड़े छोटे आते रहते हैं और जाते रहते हैं, लेकिन market हमेशा रहता है. Consumer हमेशा हर type के products खरीदने के लिए ready है. That's what I feel.
Thank you. We have with us the industry veteran, Mr. Hemant Shah. Would you like to add something, Hemant, or ask a question? Not a tough
Sorry,
question.
Mr. Shah is the father of lab-grown diamond jewelry in India, if I should say that.
Well, I exhibited in 2007 at IIJS with lab-grown diamonds. Okay, so I was the first exhibitor, and somewhere down the line, IIJS banned exhibition of lab-grown diamonds. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm a big fan of lab-grown diamonds, and I've been, as I said, 2007. There were only two known manufacturers at that time, Gemesis and Apollo, and we used to buy from Gemesis. I had the fortune of visiting and staying at the Gemesis Florida factory for 3 months. Anyway, my question today is that there is a dichotomy that exists as far as this product is concerned. Okay, while we give examples which Nirupa gave of natural silk and artificial silk, or natural granite, artificial granite, I believe you need to, if there is a new raw material, you need to have a different product. And when it comes to granite, you get basins and you get bathtubs and everything of granite, which was not simply possible with the natural granite. So the dichotomy is this: are we positioning lab-grown diamonds as a cheaper, of affordable, let me not say cheaper, as a more affordable substitute for what is the existing product, or are we willing to try? Both of you all have said that you are experimenting. And I definitely agree with you that if you don't try it, it's not going to work. Okay, so what is your stand when it comes to a long-term business proposal on this front?
It's a great question. I think it speaks the volumes of how much you know about lab-grown diamonds itself. So diamonds themselves have been marketed as probably one of the best products to ever have been marketed. You know that the diamond is forever, diamond is a girl's best friend. People sort of understood what diamonds were back then and what they are now. And when lab-grown diamonds came into question, to get somebody to trust the product immediately, we piggybacked on the fact that this is a affordable luxury, a substitute, a cheaper version, a more unique version of a diamond. And that I think is what's key in marketing it initially and educating the consumer. I think, as I mentioned earlier, there's not a time so far away when people are educated on lab grown diamonds in certain consumer segments, in certain areas in India itself, where people understand what lab grown diamonds are and they themselves will find their own niche. And we will stop having to piggyback on the fact that you're a lab grown diamond. No, you're not a diamond alternative. You're a separate product category itself. CZ stones, they are the cheaper diamonds, but they're also known as a separate product. And although we initially piggyback because maybe it was the easier way, maybe it was the only way to convince people that this is a diamond alternative. Now I think that we can shift, and as people get like people want to learn more, people get educated, more people come in the industry. We have forums like this, we talk about it more. Retailers are marketing it. People understand the product, and it finds its own niche and its own separate product category is what I believe is going to come.
Thank you. I see hope now.
So that's an amazing point. I just want to add, like we did take those low hanging fruits, and that was like the easiest and a very obvious answer as well. However, like the chopstick example I gave, that company is only doing drops with lab grown diamonds. They are making a few pieces. They're selling it out as soon as they launch because of their marketing, because of the product they're designing, and they're repeating that every quarter. So they are going to be companies. Of course, that company right now is in America, and I'm sure there will be more companies in India doing similar things as well because the culture is changing. But there is again different ideas, different directions people have started taking. I'm sure there's a long way to go, and just the beginning.
Since we're talking about chopsticks, I made a set of 20 napkin rings which were made, the rings were made of dokra, that is brass, and they were studded with 1 carat LGDs.
Great. Thank you all for. Yes, Anand, you have a question. This will be the last question, Anand.
Yes. Uh, I want to know about the export market for the LGD diamond jewelry. Of course, we all know that the US markets has been predominantly very active for the Indian exporters. And it's been close to half a decade that we are seeing quite a lot of businesses increasing with respect to the growth in the US markets. But are there any reasons that you can elaborate on why are the other economies like the Middle East or the Far East Asia, I'm not talking about China, the Far East Asian economies, the Middle Eastern economies, even Europe, for example, why aren't these markets catching up with the pace that the US has caught up for diamond jewelry on LGT exports?
I think I have a different view on that. When you speak about catching up, I think they're different on their own versions. It's not the same everywhere. But talking about growth, yes, there has been significant growth in exports in these markets, like you've just mentioned. And I'm talking year on year. So it hasn't slowed down in any way. It has moved, it has evolved, yes. But again, like I said, it's not the same market as America. It is different. So it is growing in a different format. But there is definite growth in that potential market, and a lot of people have started entering. We are in touch with a lot of people who are planning to enter. So yeah, we do see that potential only growing henceforth.
Thank you all for. Sorry, do we have time? Yes.
Hello, everyone. Hi, this is Kirtana, and I'm from Royal Star Jewelry from Dubai. And as you said, the market is getting more aware, and people are entering into that. So we are into manufacturing, and it's basically real diamonds. And we are proud to see that we are moving towards CVD and exporting it to Australia. That's our biggest one more market, which you might be getting demands from there. My question today is, what is the best manufacturing tool which I can say I should buy to tell my customer this is a real diamond and this is a CVD? Because I'm actually going from here to Desco to find out if anyone has already explored. It will make me easier to just go and pick that right thing.
Honestly, there are multiple good options. You might be able to get those. So if you're going there, you're going to get a plethora of
No,
options
that's the
anyways.
reason I'm asking. If everyone has already experimented, it would be easier for
So
me.
the thing is, I don't need to keep that because I'm only CVD now.
We are.
So, but yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to find some great options out there.
Okay.
In our my my parent company is B2B natural jewelry manufacturing. We use Synthetech the most. Synth Detect, yeah.
I'll take
Yeah,
details from you. Thank you. Anyone else who will be using that would be great.
At the end, you can connect with her, but thank you all for being here. Thank you both, Smith
Thank you.
and Ayush. It has been pleasure as always, and thank you all for being here. Wonderful participation. Thank you.